then we're talking about what you know and what you can do. So that's really important, and that's why I think the showmanship class is a very important one to do when we're showing. And the other thing is, the stuff I'm about to talk to you about not only helps us win a showmanship competition, but it helps us be better rabbit or cavy breeders. If we know what bad teeth look like and we're able to check for it when we're at home, we're not going to get disqualified, we're not going to breed that into our animals if it's something genetic. So it helps us just be better breeders if we can do that. Alright, so first thing, that rabbit's being nice, so maybe we can get the guinea pig out at the same time and we'll kind of talk about them side by side. Alright, so when we've got the animal, whether it's a rabbit or cavy, on the table, okay, we want to chill out. We want to pose them up in their proper pose, which for most rabbits is the front feet in line with the eyes, the rear feet in line with the front of the hip. I don't think, does anyone have hollow-lops in this group? Or
we have some dwarfs, and we have some lion heads.
Okay, so we do have a few breeds that are going to be a little bit different. Polish and a lot of, like I have here, and a lot of other breeds, we just set them down, pose like that, sit down on the table. The dwarfs and the Hollands, the lion heads, will want to kind of encourage them to lift up that head just a little bit. But it's not super complicated difference-wise. The guinea pigs, a little bit different, but not too much. The back feet should still be in line with the front of their hip, and those front feet, the standard here tells us that they should be slightly forward of the shoulder. So, yeah, that's a pretty good pose on Optimus here. And then, whenever the judge isn't asking you to do something, for a rabbit, I just keep my hand over their eyes, cover their head, and just relax. Wait for the judge to tell you to do something else, or wait for the judge to ask you to do something. On the cavy, a lot of times I don't like to cover their head because he doesn't do it, he's so calm. But a lot of times when you get pressure on the top of a cavy's head, there he did it just a little bit, they'll want to kind of rear up. You see, if you watch him as he's backing up, that's not as good. So just for the cavy end of things, just kind of keep your hands at your side. If they move, repose them, and don't do anything you don't have to do. Here, look, just hold him for a minute while we kind of go picking him up. Okay, we always want to support that hind quarter. On a rabbit, about 60% of the animal's weight is in the back half of them. So we want to, if we control them by that hind quarter, we're getting the most weight distributed and off the table, and they're going to feel secure if they've got the majority of their body weight supported. And then when we carry them any sort of distance, we'll tuck them into the nook of our arm like this. My nook is pretty big, so the Polish doesn't really fit there as well. But we want to keep their eyes covered. Again, we're trying to keep them calm. I don't think hopefully this shouldn't be a problem because we've got a good 4-H group here that's probably already learned the basics, but things I don't want to see, picking them up just by the ears, picking them up by the scruff of the neck, I don't ever want to see that on rabbits. Unfortunately, it's making a comeback. Adult breeders are being much worse about that than they have in years past, and it's a terrible thing. It softens the flesh condition on the rabbits. It causes almost an instant molt where the little capillaries, the blood vessels inside that hide break. And it hurts the rabbit. It's not good for them, even though some of them will tolerate it. Then we get to the checking for disqualifications, and this is where we get into our big thing, being able to turn the animal over. This is, I'm going to get it down here. This is a short table. Now that I'm not picking the rabbit up, I can do this. All right, so turning the rabbit over to be able to check it for DQs is like one of the biggest, most important things we're going to learn if we're going to raise rabbits, okay? After learning how to feed them and keep them alive. All right, so there's two ways. I'm going to show you, and then we're going to practice a little bit later with our own rabbits. So two ways. One, we take our hand like this. We put our thumb here at the base of the ear in the front, put our index finger at the base of the ear in the back and get a good firm grip on that. And then take whatever hand you don't write with. Your writing hand should be your rabbit flipping hand. Then whatever hand you don't write with on the rabbit's hindquarters and turn them through. Okay? And once we have them over, we want to keep control. We want to keep that grip on the ears, because when we release even a little bit, they come right up, and we don't want to do that. Once we have them over, we can check through the teeth and the toenails, and we'll cover that a little bit more in a minute, but we can check all the stuff with our other hand. Other way, and if you were at Williamson County, you might have saw me doing it this way. So I'll get kind of a snug grip on the side of the rabbit's head. Okay? Then same motion though as we used before, and turn them through. Okay? This one takes a little bit more getting used to, but it is a very good way. It took me, I had to go through and pretty much practice on my entire barn for a few straight days when I learned it to try and get the hang of it, but now it's the one I actually like to do best. And we'll switch out, we'll tag out our Cavy here. Do a little bit differently, but not a whole lot. We're going to kind of grab right behind the back of the head as it starts to move into the crown area, and kind of put our thumb underneath the chin. Alright. Now, one thing when we're doing cavies is a lot of guinea pigs actually have that reaction that Optimus here had. And they don't like being turned over, and especially when you turn them fully over, and then if you were to go to take that other hand from supporting them to try and check the teeth, that's where you really run into problems. So what I like to do for checking the teeth on guinea pigs, they'll set them up here on my chest, and then I'll just rear back and look at their teeth this way. Okay? And then after that, I have both hands to support the pig while I look at his feet, his belly, check the sex, make sure everything's right down there, look at the eyes up close, checking for our various disqualifications. But yeah, guinea pigs are just a little bit fussier than rabbits when it comes to being turned over, so you kind of got to work with that to see what works, but it's the same basic motion. You kind of you find a firm grip on the head, or back behind the head, over the shoulders, and you turn them through. All right, I'll switch back. All right. So, all right. Anyone remember what sort of questions I asked you at Williamson County? We'll start with that.
How many varieties are there?
Okay, good. That's a very good question, and that's when I'm doing a showmanship competition, there's two questions that I'm always going to ask you. I'm going to start off, I'm going to ask you what breed of rabbit you have, or Cavy, and then after you get that right, hopefully, which usually everybody does, but every once in a while I'll get somebody that says buck, or or fryer or something like that. But usually we get that one right. That's an easy one we start off with to get on a roll. The next question I ask everybody is, how many varieties of your breed are there? Now, when we answer that question, first off, variety means color for the most part. That's the simple way to look at it. But we want to look at it, when we answer that question, we want to say, how many showroom classifications, how many varieties are this breed shown in? For Polish, that would be 6: black, blue, chocolate, broken, blue-eyed white, ruby-eyed white. Okay? If I were to ask Luke that question about his
19.
American, 19, and I'm not going to name them all off, but because there are.
A lot.
Yeah. So it depends. You've got to know your breed. If you've got lops, that question is very easy because it's broken and solid are the two classes that we show them in. Netherlands, you got to do some counting. I will say though, when I get to, especially on rabbit breeds, because we've got so many breeds and we've got several that have quite a few varieties in it, when I ask that, I don't care if you get the exact number right. Like Mini Rex, we add a new variety nearly every year, it seems like, anymore. Mini Satins have a bunch. Rex that are Standard is open to, have a bunch. I'm not going to be super concerned about the number on if you've got a breed like that, but then I'm going to ask you to either name them, if it's a low number like 6, 7 or less. If it's a big number like, say, the Rex, I'll say, well, how many can you name for me? And I'll make sure that you can, you know, you've got a clue of what your breed is supposed to have in it or not have in it. So those are 2 questions I start off with everybody. Then after that, I pick a couple of parts of the animal. I say, what are some disqualifications, or what were some things you were looking for on the ears? And I'd say legible tattoo. Okay, this is gunman.
Gunman.
Gunman. Yeah, it was legible tattoo. I read it. Okay. Any noticeable notches out of the ear? Okay. Ear mites. And and we'll kind of divulge a little bit more. Then after you tell me a few of those things, hopefully more the better. I might say, well, ear mites, what does that look like? And who's ever had ear mites in their rabbits? Okay, well, that's good news and bad news. Good news is you haven't had to deal with that, and it is actually a kind of a common problem. But the bad news is you don't know what it looks like to be on the lookout for. And I find that out when I ask that question in Showmanship. So, like ear mites. Ear mites would look like what? What do we think?
Little black dots.
Yep, that's the most common answer I get. But we can't see the mites. The mites are, even though I guess technically they're little black dots because they are tiny little bugs. Yeah,
dots.
Exactly. They're microscopic. We can't see those black dots. We can't see the bugs in the ears. What we see in the ears, if they do have it, is kind of scabby, crusty, maybe irritated looking, a little bit of redness around that scabbiness, and it always starts down in the base of the ears, and the worse it is, the further up the ear it comes. I've actually seen Rex, which have pretty good sized ears on them most of the time, have crust all the way up to the top of the ear. Now, hopefully you would never let one get like that before you treated it, but it can happen, and it's one of the things we look for. Then, what was it? Do you remember the other pieces I asked you? No? Okay. But it doesn't really matter. We can talk about all sorts of different stuff. And each part of the rabbit has stuff like that. We have the eyes. We look for the correct eye color. We look for, make sure they don't have any spots or cloudiness in the eye. We want to make sure they have their eyes. That seems like a silly thing to say, because have you ever seen a rabbit without eyes?
Nope.
I have. Again, probably not something super common that's ever going to make it to a show, but it's on our list of things that could be a disqualification. And a good tip for showmanship I always tell people is, if I ask you about a part of the rabbit or the part of the guinea pig, and you want to give me something, you can't think of anything, or you want to tell me something more, you want to elaborate, give me one more thing, say missing. Because if I ask you about a part of the rabbit, it's a good, assumption to make that they're supposed to have it, and it would be a bad thing if they were missing that. So eyes, teeth, feet, toenails, toes, all of that missing. The one part that would sound kind of weird or stupid if you said that would be like, I ask, what are you checking for in the belly? And missing a belly, that's a little bit off. That's not probably sounded too smart on your part. But just about every other piece of the rabbit, you can use that logic. All right. So once we got them over, we've looked at the eyes, and then we look at the nose. Okay, this is the same for rabbits and cavies. If we've got discharge coming from that nose, that's our big, most common DQ. It's not near as common in guinea pigs, but it's the thing that could be wrong with the nose most commonly. And our rule for that is, if it's clear discharge, we got to chalk it up to allergies. We can't say that that's necessarily infection or cold. If it's cloudy, if it has color to it, then we can disqualify it. Then it's considered a DQ. And the reason for that is we have to have some sort of gauge, because there is healthy discharge that will come from the nose from time to time. It's weird that animals always have unhealthy boogers. Humans seem to be the only species that if we sneeze, nobody says, oh, kill them. take them, you know, butcher them. Nobody says that for a human that's got boogers up their nose, but rabbits, it's a much bigger deal. So we're not vets. We can't culture this stuff that comes out of the rabbit's nose and make a real hard decision. So we got to have some place, and that color that comes with the snot is a sign of infection, a sign of something happening that's an actual sickness to them. We check the teeth, and one thing I do want to tell, I showed you how to check the teeth on the guinea pig already. But on the rabbits, the one part of technique that I do want to teach you about when you check the teeth is pull at the corners of the mouth. Go from over the rabbit's head and pull from behind the rabbit. Make them smile, okay? And a lot of times what I see is kind of people wanting to do this and poke their fingers up at the mouth, okay? A couple of things that are wrong with that. One, occasionally that'll freak the rabbit out if something's coming straight at their head or more on their eye level. When they're in this already unnatural position of being upside down. The other thing is you're going to end up getting bit because your fingers are right in their mouth, right in the line of their teeth. And then possibly the most important thing is it gets in the way of seeing what you need to see. Like I said, this isn't just about winning a showmanship contest. When you go home and you check your rabbits over and make sure they're okay, you want to be able to see that and get your fingers out of the way and actually look at those teeth. The teeth on a rabbit should have an overbite, okay? Same for the cavies. If they come together like this, that's called simple malocclusion. If they have an underbite like this, that's malocclusion. Either of those are considered disqualifications.
What if the malocclusion is not in front of the teeth, but right on the side of right here on the teeth, like splitting upwards and making a curve into the teeth?
If they're curving, they've already had one of those type of malocclusions for a while. Once that's when they have the teeth set wrong in their head, that's why they have to, because I'm not sure the number on Cavy, but a rabbit's teeth grows about 1/4 of an inch a month. So if we don't have that proper bite to them, if they have the proper bite, when we give them pellets, when we give them that hard food, they break down naturally, and they can continue to grow and they'll have that good natural bite. When they get set off either like this or like this, that's when they start to grow, and you'll get those little tusks that kind of start to part, or depending on exactly how hard they meet together in the wrong way to start off with. Teeth-wise, Luke, we'll see if you're all into participation today. Do you know what the difference between rabbits and cavies are? And it has to do with their teeth.
Yes, the rabbits have 4 teeth on the top jaw, and the guinea pigs have 2 teeth on the top jaw, where you can mostly see it.
Okay. Yes. The way he was saying it, I thought he was telling me total number of teeth, but he's just saying on top, so he was actually very much correct. Rabbits are not rodents. They are considered lagomorphs. That's a fun trivia question. I might never ask you that in a showmanship or anything, but might win you a bet sometime when you're older. And cavies, guinea pigs, actually are rodents. And the big difference from a scientific standpoint comes with those teeth, what Luke just told us about. Rabbits have what we call peg teeth that are behind those top, and you kind of see his on the side. And actually if you look up under it, you can sometimes see those peg teeth. It's kind of hard to see, but they are there. They've got an extra set of teeth on the top, right behind those top teeth, and that's what makes them different from a guinea pig or any other rodent, really. Well, besides the look of them, I mean, obviously they're not a rat, they're not a rodent, they're rabbits. But like I said, that's the big thing, and you'll impress judges a lot, because there's a lot of adult breeders that have gone their entire life that don't know what the peg teeth are. So that maybe not super important, but something good to know and to be just ever increasing your knowledge. One thing I forgot about guinea pigs on when we were talking about different pieces, the eyes are one place where we have a little bit more difference in ways we can DQ the guinea pigs, and one is PI. You have any with PI?
Yes.
Yes, I have.
Well, you don't have to get it right now, but maybe in a moment. but they'll kind of have a fatty discharge, or not discharge, protrusion would be the right word, that pops out. Oh yeah, there is a picture on the standard. You're right, Luke. Let's find that to start off with. But it'll kind of pop out. There'll be this little fatty stuff that comes up over the eyelid on the bottom side. Yeah, just like that. Real. And it looks like, it makes their eye look droopy. They got a real kind of sad expression if they've got it on both sides. Yeah, it's kind of common. It's not an odd thing, certainly. So if you've got one,
here he comes.
Now I can't see.
yeah, you can tell he's kind of squinting right now. But yeah, is it on both sides? You think? Or?
No.
You can kind of see it. You can kind of see it here. There it is.
Yeah.
There it's starting.
And some of them, he doesn't have it super bad. So sometimes he's one that wouldn't always show it. Like right when you plopped him down the table, it didn't really show up. But now you got him a little bit relaxed, and it shows up a lot more.
So is it like the tissue of the underneath the eye, or the muscle underneath the eye just pops?
It's fatty tissue, so it's not muscle.
So it's not muscle, it's just fat tissue. I have another question about the PI. How many times, so does it go all the way up to like halfway of the eye or quarter of the eye?
I've seen it go the entire length of the underside of the eye, and then I've seen some as small as, maybe a quarter. So it just depends. If I'd thought about it, I've got one old sow at home that has it real bad in both eyes. And it's slightly genetic, so we kind of want to, or at least partially, a lot of old breeders, and myself included, if they get it when they're older, we don't really care, because it's actually not anything that's harming the pig. It's just it really is a cosmetic disqualification. So as long as they're ones that develop it when they're older, I don't care if they have it or not, because by the time they get to a certain age, I'm not showing them anymore. So
I also have another question about the head tilt.
Oh yeah, well, we can talk about that. That is something.
How does it occur?
He's talking about what we commonly call wry neck, and I have seen it on a few guinea pigs. I think we had one that was questionable at the last show we were at, that was maybe thinking about it. It's a little bit more common on rabbits. There's a few different things that can cause it. There's bacteria. There's inner ear infections that are of a different, not necessarily the bacteria, but it really sounds like it is what Luke said. It's a head tilt, where they kind of always hold their head to one side or the other, and it can get bad where it throws off their balance because it is their inner ear, And
I have a son breeding that has that.
You do.
Lethal.
Yeah, and with that, it is something. It's not maybe on our usual checklist of DQs, but it is something we want to watch out for. It's usually not genetic, but the fact is that it's usually hard to treat. So if you've got a rabbit that's rolling over, they're falling over because they can't keep their balance, then we need to. You got one that does have it?
I do. This is our lethal, and she has it, and she's blind, so we take extra special care of her. As she loses her balance.
Yeah. Yeah. And that has to do because our inner ear is what gives us balance, and when we tilt that off to it. Has she been like this her whole life?
No, it kind of developed. And she's a lethal.
Yeah,
so.
right. So she wasn't real sturdy, hardy to begin with. So.
You guys all see that?
Did he pee on the table? Yeah. Yeah, he'll do that. All right. So let's go back to our. I won't bore you on too much more, but we got a few more important parts to talk about before I'll let y'all play with rabbits, and we'll give it a shot. And we play with guinea pigs too. But when we've got them on the underside, we want to check them for abscesses, hernias, tumors, and ruptures. Just give me a second. Hold the question. I love the enthusiasm. Abscesses, that's a little ball of pus that's caused by an infection. Tumors are, oops, sorry, bud. Didn't mean to poke you that hard. Tumors are like on a human, like a cancer. The cells of the body are growing out of control. The hernia, also just like a human, that's where like intestine or stomach will kind of pop out of the outer lining of the stomach just a little bit and make a bump there. And rupture is one, usually we talk about that, we're talking about a popped navel cord, which is kind of a hernia in its own way, but it's a rupture is usually a term we use to describe that. Also, we use that for any lumps or bumps on the underside of the rabbit we know aren't supposed to be there, but we just can't quite name them, because anything lumpy on the bottom side of the rabbit when we're got them turned over like this is not going to be good. We want to check all the toes and toenails. We want to make sure they're not broken. We want to make sure that they are correct color for their variety. Usually, a good rule of thumb is that the toenails should match the color of the foot that they're on. Like this is a chocolate rabbit, so it should have dark nails, typically with chocolate. A few exceptions would be like a Californian that has black feet, and even though they're supposed to have dark toenails, they usually don't. Broken rabbits or guinea pigs, if they've got white on the foot, they're usually going to have white nails, but it's not a bad thing if they have dark nails. Yeah, like that's a roan, so even though he's got white on him, he's actually a black and red pig underneath, and so he's going to have dark colored nails. We want to, let me see if I can turn this around so we can check. We want to check see if it's a buck or a doe, or a boar or a sow, and we do want to use those proper terms. We don't want to say boy or girl, male or female. We want to use the right words when we're talking about them. And if I'm doing this backwards, so forgive me if this is a little bit hard to see, but if we put one finger below the vent, right on the top of the tail up here, and then one above, and just kind of spread it open, we can see boys point, girls smile for our rabbits. Guinea pigs are, in a way, a little bit easier. Come here, Optimus. Actually, you know what? We'll use our PI guy. Maybe he likes being turned over a little bit better.
That's Bull.
It's Bull?
Bull.
Bull. Okay. Hello, Bull. All right. So on a guinea pig, hey, Betty. Okay. Yeah, you're a little bit easier to get along with than Optimus was when turned over, but you still don't quite care for it. On a guinea pig, on an adult one, it's pretty easy to tell because guinea pigs have very large testicles. This is a fun fact. I know we're all young kids here, and the parents are probably cringing behind me, but yeah, Kathy knows what I'm going to say here. They're about the size as if a human had watermelons down there, so they're very large compared to the size of animal that they are. And you might not remember anything else I tell you, but I guarantee you'll remember that. So fun fact. But on young ones, the easiest way to sex them is just kind of push at the top, kind of like you were sexing a rabbit, and if something comes out, it's a boar, and if nothing comes out, it's a sow. That's the easiest way. And interesting, since we've got a guinea pig here, one slightly different DQ that we have on guinea pigs is Impaction, which he's thinking about. He's not there yet, but he's got a little, and what that means is it happens most on boars because they drag themselves through the shavings and stuff chasing sows, and they'll get some gunk in either one of the vents can become impacted, but a lot of times it happens on their butt, and they'll just get poop stuck in there, shavings, hair, different things, and it keeps them from being able to pass regularly. So especially our old boars that are inbreeding, we do need to keep an eye on that. Like I said, he's not there yet, but he's thinking about it because he is clearly an old boar. Where's the rabbit? There's the rabbit. We'll switch back to rabbit for a moment, because after we check the sex and we make sure that they, if they're a buck, they have 2 testicles showing, and that they don't have a split penis. I don't know. Y'all wouldn't happen to have one of those hanging around, would you?
Not that I'm aware
of.
I pulled out everything else.
There might be a picture in the front on that, but here, Luke, get on that. Then after we do that, that's why I switched to rabbit, is because the next part our guinea pigs don't have, and that's the tail. We want to make sure that's there, and then that it's not a bobtail. This is reasonable length for the size of rabbit that they are. We want to make sure there's no breaks in it. The tail is a bone, just like anything else. And we want to make sure they don't have a screw tail that goes to one side or the other, and it comes straight down, or when they're posed straight up. Oh, and we actually got a picture of a screw tail there while we're at it. Very helpful. And this book, if everybody doesn't have it, it's about as valuable of a book as you're ever going to have as a rabbit and cavy breeder, so I'll do that plug. But I've seen enough of them while I'm here already. I think we've pretty much got our bases covered on that. We do have a picture of a split penis, and that is a very genetic DQ, even though some people try and tell you they can't breed when they're like that. It does happen, and if you get it, go ahead and find a pet home, find something else to do with it. It's a semi-common DQ that we'll see in rabbits. Alright, then some other basic questions on showmanship before we get our animals out and actually start trying to do this. Especially on the rabbit side, I might ask you what type of fur your rabbit has. Okay, that's right. And you've got, what breed do you have?
Polish.
Polish, okay. So yeah, Polish are flyback. Okay, Netherland dwarfs, I know we had some of those. Those are going to be rollback. And it just means a lot of times when I ask that question, people try and describe the fur. They're like, say it's soft or white and fluffy, and that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for a simple either flyback, rollback, wool, Rex, satin. Those are the type of words we need to be describing. Yeah, that covers a little bit. Let's give y'all listen to me talk